Anyway, we'll get back to the poker game. But the next one, LA Knight. And I like the guy. I'm not saying he's going to be the next fucking Rock, right? But he can talk, he can work, he can have a professional wrestling match. He has movement to him. He's experienced. Got some personality. I'm beginning to believe it's all for naught at this point, because after the Max Dupree fiasco, where they just made him a completely different person for no reason, to the point where he knew it sucked so bad he couldn't even do it. And then they just erased that with a backstage beatdown of the Mansois and Massey or whoever the fuck. And now he's with Bray Wyatt, and that's a doom spot. They've even talked about it. Somebody's knocking on the door.
Whoa, someone's knocking.
Actually, they're knocking on the ceiling. Oh. My carpenters are at work today, so please excuse me. They've even said from the scuttlebutt from The Office is they understand that you can almost be assured that whoever is booked with Bray Wyatt will be buried. It's hard to book anybody that doesn't get buried by this fucking thing, right? This whole gimmick, this whole world they're creating. So he knocks the legends of a few minutes, does LA Knight, and then gong. The Undertaker's gong, and I sit up, and I open my eyes, and I start sharpening my pencil, and the people, ooh, and that lasts a gong or two, and the Taker music starts, and then it transitions to that fucking Kid Rock, American Badass, his right wing, fake trailer park trash, fucking... And Stace had walked in to look at the poker game and say, oh, Jimmy's looking good, Hart, and etc. And then the gong, she thinks she's going to see The Undertaker too. And then suddenly at the same time, when here comes American Badass, we both say, oh, no.
So did the fans in the arena, if you noticed.
Yes. They didn't get The Undertaker. They got Mark Calloway on his motorcycle. With that fucking piece of trash, Kid Rock's right-wing horse shit, and his street clothes, and a motorcycle that came 50 feet down the fucking ramp, or down the aisleway, and then an awkward dismount. What were you going to say?
You keep shitting on Kid Rock for his politics. You don't have a problem with his shitty music? Just in general?
No, the music shits. The music is the shits, but it was overwhelmed and overshadowed by his just shittiness as a human being every time I see him with the fucking fuck Joe Biden, I love Trump, I like to suck his orange dick shit for the past 5 years. But nevertheless, so we don't get The Undertaker, we get Mark Calloway, who walks in the ring and fires up and everything, but it's not The Undertaker. And remember, we said this when we talked about the Undertaker biography and the retirement and the whole 9 yards. In hindsight, the American Badass was a good thing because it made the people nostalgic for the Undertaker. How could I miss you if you won't go away? He went away. And then when they brought it back, people loved it. And from then on, it was gold. We don't want to see the fucking American Badass anymore because it ain't the Undertaker.
Didn't Vince even hate it?
I don't know. And then, so now, LA Knight's on the floor, Undertaker's in the ring, and LA Knight's doing, hey, I agree with you, the locker room is soft, what you said. So I'd fight you right now, and I would send the Undertaker to the Undertaker, but I'll let you live, as he's backing up out of the entranceway. Okay, well, then I know what's coming next, and I have a horrible feeling. And there's a blackout, and spooky music, and the blue light, and suddenly Bray Wyatt is behind LA Knight with the lantern, and the music creeps along, and LA Knight creeps back, and everybody's creeping. And that's when Stacey said, is anything going to happen? And she walked out of the room because she was like, what the fuck? As slow as molasses in January, as Mama Cornette used to say. And finally, L.A. Knight backs away from Bray Wyatt by getting into the ring and turning his back on The Undertaker. Where The Undertaker grabs him by the goozle and is going to choke slam him. But then Undertaker sees Bray Wyatt, and Undertaker shoves L.A. Knight to Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt gives him the Sister Abigail. And L.A. Knight rolls out, never to be seen again. And then Undertaker and Bray Wyatt face off, and Undertaker leans over and whispers something to Bray Wyatt, which is just the talk of Twitter this morning. What could he have said? Probably it sounded a lot better when we went over it in the locker room.
You got an easier deal than I ever had.
There you go. And then Taker gets on the motorcycle at ringside, and he can't start it. And they keep cutting back to Bray Wyatt because Taker ain't getting the bike started. And you can see one guy in the front row pointing like, you got to do something there. And then he finally starts it, and he rides 50 feet back down the entranceway and stops and turns around. It's the first bad Undertaker segment, I think, ever in the history of wrestling.
He should have just put it in neutral and let them push him. Hey, look on the bright side. You know what? Considering how shitty this was in every respect, the wrong Undertaker, the Bray Wyatt stuff, L.A. Knight is doing as well as anyone could do under these circumstances, and I think he's actually, I don't know if they'll use him. I don't know if it'll go anywhere for him, but the fans are reacting to him. He's starting to get over. They're doing his, I don't know if his catchphrase is yeah or whatever, but they're doing it with him. So they're into him a little bit. He's got good material. He delivers it well. Seems like a tweaked out wrestler. Like you believe he would be a crazy wrestler. But then they keep jobbing him out. So like he does a good job, but it's like the Austin Theory thing. Although he's a bit older than Austin Theory, which is why I don't have as much hope that they'll straighten it out. But he's been great. He's been one of the highlights of WWE programming. As bad as the Bray Wyatt stuff is, he's good.
But now think about this. Undertaker could have chokeslammed him, except you have him, Bray. So he throws him to Bray. Bray drops him on his head. You never see L.A. Knight again. Taker's retired. Bray Wyatt just came back, but he's been around for 15 years in some form or another. And so the newest guy is the guy that got shit on and left out of the equation. And yes, I know for the fans of the supernatural, one step beyond, they loved the idea of Taker and Bray Wyatt in the ring together, except they didn't even see Undertaker. Bray Wyatt has goddamn supernatural fucking puppets, talking pigs, and whatever. But we can't even see the Undertaker with some eye makeup and the goddamn entrance and the whole 9 yards, some druids maybe. He's just got to come out dressed in street clothes. I don't know.
And the LA Knight stuff, the problem is they have a track record. They show you what they think of you when they use you this way with the legends. They did it to Rob Conway, I remember, years and years ago, where he got beat up by like 15 legends in the ring. Like one after another. You had to bump from one to the other to the other. But FTR with DX is the famous one that everyone talks about now because they first talked about it here on this show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are examples, WWE, you have someone that the fans may think has something, and they're like, all right, just go out there and get beat up by these old people. And then I'm not saying that about The Undertaker necessarily, but, you know, that's the thing that doesn't give me hope for LA Knight there. It says something about the way they think of you when they're building up a big match, this lights out match. Match has a fucking sponsor, Mountain Dew. And they're going to have you used like this the week before.
Why didn't they just save poor L.A. Knight?
Use The Miz. Considering what they did with The Miz, why didn't they do that with The Miz here?
Well, he has to get beat up later on. But at least he got beat up by one of the current members of the roster. But why couldn't Bray Wyatt be in the ring doing one of his promos that people love, even though he never really gets anywhere? But maybe couldn't he be conflicted again about, I don't know if I should do this, or I don't know if I should let this monster out of its cage again or whatever. And boom, Undertaker music. Here comes the Undertaker. He gets in, he brings the lights up with his supernatural powers. and he tells fucking Bray Wyatt, he gives Bray Wyatt one line of advice that makes sense in whatever the fuck universe they're in these days.
Enough with the howdy-doody shit.
There you go. Enough with the howdy-doody shit, kid. Or whatever it may be. And then there's the fucking bong and the lights out. And when they come back on, Undertaker's gone. And then Bray Wyatt can do his Firefly Funhouse or whatever. And then you've seen the real Undertaker. You've had that moment, but you didn't have to beat the fuck out of LA Knight. And it wouldn't have cost him any buys on the Royal Rumble. Or whatever, not buys. Nobody buys it anymore, nevertheless.
See, I see it as give the Undertaker the Miz thing, because it would have accomplished the same thing for both guys, and do something where LA Knight doesn't look weak the week of the pay-per-view match.
Well, he's looked weak the month of the pay-per-view match, because